having a really tough time financially, right? But some are scoring a big win right now. So more and more people are turning to streaming services like Netflix, Disney Plus to help them keep them entertained. Online meeting service Zoom, it's everywhere. It's seeing a boom in business with more people downloading its programs to keep business and classes running. Gym equipment retailers are struggling to keep up with demand for exercise bikes, free weights, and more. I know Al bought a jump rope like a 7-year-old. Supermarkets are seeing a huge spike in sales as one of the only places left open for people to go shopping. And finally, food delivery services, right? Like Uber Eats, Grubhub. They're also seeing this really big increase in demand. People need to eat, and not everyone is a whiz in the kitchen. What of those companies do you think you're turning to most, Steph?
I mean, I won't lie, Netflix is my savior right now. I love Netflix and Hulu. But also, you were just mentioning the food delivery services, Tori, and you know, you and I both, I think you also have HelloFresh, which is a home delivery service where you can pick your meals and they get sent to your home. Yes. And I think right now that makes me feel a lot better because I feel as though I don't have to go out to the supermarket or the grocery store. So it helps me feel a bit more in control of my situation and that I don't have to venture out as much. So I'm really grateful to HelloFresh, that's for sure.
I do too. Now, Al is putting his thumbs down. What I don't think Al realizes, and I'm starting to get this, Al, do you think it comes in like the risotto is already made? Like I get rice and chicken stock and I have to like cook it. Like my hands are in that. Right? Right, Steph? What do you think about that, Al?
No, I think it's ridiculous. If I'm going to order food, I want it put together. I don't want to put together IKEA furniture for my mouth. I want to be able to eat immediately. It's like, here's a bunch of pieces of food and now you make it into something. I'm like, no, chef, here's where you start earning your money. You cook my food if I'm paying for it. I don't understand this. I mean, could you do this with any other thing? If you show up to your beautician and they just had all the stuff laid out and said, well, go ahead and do your hair and then pay me. No. I'm paying you to make my food. Make it. I don't want to construct a house made of popsicle sticks and then make it my meal. No, you make it.
Al, name one bookcase from IKEA. Name one name that you could think of.
I go to secondhand stores.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Okay, I was going to say Fluffernugan. All right, before we go to break, guys, I want to...
Morgan.
Billy is a good one, too. Everyone's got the Billy bookcase from IKEA. Everyone. Before we go to break, we want to leave you with something to put a little smile on your face. You know we need it. Matthew McConaughey, I love this story. He was the surprise entertainment for a random Texas senior living facility where he hosted virtual bingo. And it looks like, really, the residents had a really good time, especially the winners. You guys take a look at this.
We got an I-24, I-24. Oh! Richard Blunt is waving a hammer up high. Oh, we got Charles Kings and the iPad up high. We got 2 winners.
What do you guys think? Would you like to have McConaughey give you the bingo? What about you, Steph?
Are you kidding me? Now, I don't know if you know this, Tori, but I'm slightly in love with Matthew. Ooh. There's just something about that man that I just can't get enough of. What I'm disappointed at is I get that it was for a Texas elderly care home. That's really cool. But what about me? I want to be able to play bingo and watch his gorgeous face. I'm jealous.
I know what you mean. It's like I-24. How about I want to see him on my screen? Hey-o! Yes, bingo.
Yes.
Thank you. Al and Steph, we will be checking back with you guys later. Coming up on DBL, you know who's in, the doc. Dr. Pyle Coley returns. She's answering more questions about the coronavirus and gives us that silver lining we all need. And later, we're talking to a mom and author who says, guess what? It's okay to just be okay when it comes to parenting. Why we need to hear this now more than ever. Jeff does a killer interview. Take a look. Welcome back to DBL. I am in my Blanche Rue McConaughey outfit. We are all about here facts, not fear, and providing information to keep you and your loved ones safe. And that's why we brought in the one, the only, Dr. Pyle Coley. Look how cute with that little choker thing. Is that part of the dress?
It is part of the dress, but I love your dress today.
Yeah, we're a little in the 70s palm fronds restaurant here having some salad. All right, Dr. Pyle Coley, you join us again to answer your questions about the coronavirus. But before we start, I want to ask about the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. He is a world leader, and as we know from yesterday, he was just admitted into the ICU because he did catch the virus. Doctor, is going to the ICU a really bad sign of what's to come, or have you seen people come back?
So, Tori, you know, the most common reason that people end up in the ICU with this infection, because it is a lung infection, is respiratory distress. And what we're hearing about Boris Johnson is that he's on supplemental oxygen. So thankfully, he's not yet on a ventilator, which obviously carries with it a more severe prognosis. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed that things don't progress, because in the second week of the illness is really when you start to see the inflammation and the lung damage that can certainly cause some people to end up on the ventilator. So the numbers can be scary if you look at the studies, because up to half of the people that get into the ICU don't come out. But that's people who are on a ventilator and, you know, have other problems. So hopefully the Prime Minister is going to do okay, but it's hard to tell at this point which way things are going to go.
That is scary. I've heard the second week is really the week from hell. It's not easy. Well, Doc, our first viewer question comes from Molly. Thanks for writing in. She says, I've heard conflicting reports about washing my produce with soap and water. Should we really be washing what we're going to eat with soap? And Doc, I want to remind you, we said on our show yesterday to use soap, and I got a lot of conflicting reports about this. We'd love to clear it up with an expert.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So soap is really important because soap has fat particles in it, or particles that can interrupt the outer membrane of the virus. So it's really good at destroying that virus. And this virus is particularly sensitive to soap. So water alone, we know, is not as good as soap and water. But what types of soap are safe to use in our food? You're probably not going to want to use hand soap or bar soap on your food, but instead dishwashing soap. So I think of it just like we're washing our dishes, which we eat off of. Just make sure you get all that soap off, you know, after you rinse it off. But if you do get it off, it's probably actually a good idea to use soap and water rather than water alone, because it is more effective at destroying that virus.
That's awesome.
And the way I like to actually wash the produce is for that 20 seconds, just like I would wash my hands. So
little happy birthday.
Think of your produce just like your hands.
Okay.
Sing happy birthday twice.
Pomegranate, happy birthday. Sandra writes in, my nails are getting really bad and I can't take it. Is it okay to have my nail tech come to my house if she's been in quarantine?
Unfortunately, Sandra, I wouldn't advise that at this point, just because if she comes to you or you go to her, regardless of how quarantined you've been, you're exposing risks to each other and to the community. So try to put up with it, and hopefully pretty soon we'll be able to get back to those salons.
Yeah, I agree. And also those press-on nails you can order are good too. Trust me, I wear them all the time. Finally, and very quickly, our final question comes from Kelly. She wants to know if it's safer to go grocery shopping on your own, or should she have her groceries delivered by a stranger?
So Kelly, anything you can do to avoid face-to-face contact with people, as horrible as that sounds, is the right thing to do at this point. So try to get them delivered to your house, but have the person leave them outside if that's possible, or at least be 6 feet away if that's possible. And then when you bring them into your house, make sure you wash them real carefully like we talked about, because somebody else has handled the groceries and the packaging.
All right, that's fantastic. Good to know. Before we go, it is time for Dr. Coley's Silver Lining. Yes, Lord. I was trying to do it like Southern, like with this, but today you're going to tell us about a group of scientists who have turned the shape of the virus into music. And in fact, if you listen closely right now, the music is playing behind you right now. Tell us how this is possible, Doc.
So Tori, this is Tim the Beaver from MIT up to his genius again. So this is a study out of MIT. That it actually took, you know, so the virus has spikes on it, and those spikes are what causes it to stick to the receptors in the lungs. So they actually took the spike protein and made music out of every single amino acid. They correlated that with a musical note.
Wow.
So now you're probably asking me, why would somebody want to do this, right?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, and so the reason they want to do this is because it brings out the patterns in the amino acids, so it helps us identify targets for drugs.
Wow.
So by making this into a musical selection, we can actually tell where the drugs would work, and we can also tell if previous drugs that we've used for other viruses and other diseases would work on this one. So it's really brilliant, and Tim the Beaver has done it again.
We've done it again. Thank you, Dr. Coley. Again, Dr. Coley returns tomorrow. So wonderful to have you. If you do have a question about coronavirus, write in to us on social media. You can email info@dailyblastlive.com. We are, no panic, and people got mad yesterday. I didn't do my shoulders. No panic, just prevention and precautions. I'm exhausted. We'll be right back. Thanks, Doc. Welcome back to DBL. For all the moms and dads and grandparents who are at home and feeling incredibly overwhelmed, first of all, we empathize. We get you during this pandemic. It's not easy. You're not alone. Earlier, Jeff sat down with Lindsey Powers. So she's a mom and an author who started the No Shame Parenting movement. You might have heard of it. To find out why she says it's okay to be an okay parent. It's a great interview. Check out our DBL Spotlight.
Lindsey Powers, welcome to DBL. Just like you, I also have two boys who obviously keep me on my toes. Never a dull moment. You recently wrote an article stating that it's okay to be an okay parent. What did you mean by that?
When I said an okay parent, I wasn't saying I'm a bad parent. It meant that I'm not in the competition to be like the world's best mom right now. I mean, we're not just working from home or parenting from home. We are parenting during a global pandemic. So I think we have to show ourselves a little bit of grace.
So, Lindsey, what's been your hardest parenting moment? I understand being a parent is hard in general, but just specifically during this quarantine.
Right, so I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and their schools are closed. I'm working from home. I work full-time, plus I have my new book, You Can't Blink Up Your Kids. My husband's working from home, so we're all stuck in our little house in Brooklyn with not a lot of outdoor space. So after a night, my house was a mess. We just made dinner, of course, the millionth meal that I've made at home. And I had a moment, right? I told my husband I just need 20 minutes. I went upstairs. I closed the door. I said, I have to find a way to make this work. And the way to make it work is to just come to terms with me being the okayest mom. And that's where I kind of set these ground rules that I laid out in this article, what my goals are during this really surreal life moment.
I love it. I think me, you, and my wife and your husband, we need to be social media friends. We need someone to lean on.
We should do this. We can Zoom talk at night about this.
It sounds good to me. Now, Lindsey, you've created a parenting mantra for quarantine. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things that stick in my head. The first thing is screen time rules do not count. We are never going to look back at this time and say, I really wish my kids had watched, less Paw Patrol during this global pandemic. And plus, in my book, I do go into all the research with screen time and show that it helps people connect, which is more necessary than ever right now. So screens are fine. One of my other rules is that my home is not a school. You're not going to see me doing math worksheets for my kids, but more importantly, we're focusing on life skills. When we cook together, they learn math, how to follow directions, order, and how many people are quarantined inside their house now and wish they learned how to cook as kids. So school is kind of the school of life. And, we're eating all the carbs as well. I'm not so focused on having this quote unquote perfect meal. Also, comfort food is a thing during a life period that's not the most comfortable. So we're trying to find a little bit of that. And, the last rule is that we're taking breaks. My husband and I are leaning on each other to take breaks, whether that's sitting on the edge of the bathtub for 5 minutes or handing our kids their tablet for a couple of minutes so they can zone out. We're looking at this as a marathon, not a race, and that's what's helping us keep our composure during it, to be honest.
Lindsey, I totally agree with you. I love your style. Now, a couple of years ago, you started the No Shame Parenting movement. Now, today, that hashtag has reached more than 170 million people. Why do you think this no judgment space resonates with so many people?
I think that so many people scroll social media and they're comparing themselves to everyone, right? It's no longer just your mom, your friends, your neighbor. Now you're comparing yourself to that middle school frenemy who you follow on Instagram, to maybe the Kardashians, people who have totally different lives than you, and no one's posting the less than perfect moments of their life. So I think that No Shame Parenting went so viral because it gave people permission to be open and real and honest. And I think it's really important for us to connect.
Lindsey, I'm not even joking. Check your messages because you're about to get a follow right after we're done with this interview.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, my wife too, trust me. Lindsey, thank you so much for joining DBL. Your book, You Can't Blink Up Your Kids, is in stores now. Lindsey, thanks again so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. Good luck to you and your wife and your family.
We'll be right back, everybody.
Promotional consideration.
Welcome back to DBL. It's time for a security alert sponsored by LifeLock. So right now, a scam about the stimulus checks is going around. Con artists are tricking people into getting their checks early in exchange for money or personal information. Victims are even getting calls, texts, Facebook messages. Again, I want to repeat to you, the government will not ask for your personal information or for money. If you're eligible, you will receive the money by April 15th. The government will deposit it into the account you gave on last year's tax return. If you don't have direct deposit, it will be mailed and could take until mid-August. To protect yourself from fraud, call LifeLock at 1-800-495-8730. Real quick, Al, make sure you tell us you have LifeLock, am I right?
I do. I have LifeLock. I had it before we even started the show. I was a victim of check fraud. It's like I needed the money in graduate school, and I was expecting the check. It came, and I needed it so bad I didn't check to make sure it was a valid check from a righteous institution. So everybody, I know you need the money, but make sure you take an extra second and make sure that that check looks right.
That's exactly right. And real quick, we want to get, thanks Alan Steph, a big quick shot of the studio. It's Chris Clark, our executive producer's birthday. Wave, Chris. Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wearing jeans. Bye, guys. See you next time. Same place tomorrow.